All right, well, we can talk about it. All right, yeah. We don't need to start having the argument right away. It's not even, I don't even know if it'll be an argument. It probably will be, though.
Well, like Tony C said, we argue about films we both like.
Yeah, I don't think I like this movie, though. Wow. I don't know. The more I think about it, the less I like it.
Wow.
Whatever.
Flying Bull Productions presents LaF, Literature and Film.
All right, so it's the good stuff.
Yeah.
It is the LaF podcast. Over there is Mr. Two Frames, Ryan Bull.
Howdy.
I'm the L Train. Spider-Man meets Superbad.
That's how you're going to describe this film?
That's how I felt about it. That's what I except I liked Superbad. I didn't like Spider-Man too much.
So where are you coming down on the continuum for Deadpool, the movie we're reviewing on this week's episode?
The movie
124.
Deadpool. It's a movie about a superhero, but it's not a movie about a superhero. This guy's not a superhero, right? He's supposed to be a superhero, but he's like aware of his superhero-iness.
He doesn't want to be a superhero. Apparently in the comic books he does some more superhero stuff.
Does he save a cat or a dog? I think it happens in one of the trailers. He saves a cat or something. Yeah, superhero.
Kind of lonesome back here.
Little help here.
Excuse me. Woo! Dopinder.
Cool. Dead.
Why the fancy red suit, Mr. Poole?
Oh, that's because it's Christmas Day, Dopinder. And I'm after someone on my naughty list. You're probably thinking this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a kebab. Surprise, this is a different kind of superhero story. To tell it right, we gotta take you back before I squeezed into red spandex.
Mr. Wilson, you've recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
We can fight this.
What if I told you we can cure you and give you abilities most men only dream of?
I'd say that you sound like an infomercial, but not a good one, like Slap Chop, more shake weighty. If I never see you again, know that I love you.
When I'm finished, your mutated cells will heal anything. But you still think we're making you a superhero. We're making you a super slave. Oh, come on.
You gonna leave me all alone here with Jose Canseco? Whatever they did to me made my body indestructible. But my face... Now, look at me.
Played by Ryan Reynolds, the titular Deadpool. I think his ego is Wade Wilson. Wasn't he a quarterback for the Rams? Minnesota Vikings? He was a second-string quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
I don't know. Apparently it's a play on Slade Wilson, who is the real-life identity of Deathstroke, one of hitman and assassin from DC comic books.
DC? Yeah. Isn't this a Marvel guy?
Yeah, that's why it's a parody.
Oh, it's a parody. I thought he said it's a play on.
Yeah, it's a play. I mean, the name is.
So this is a guy who's been stolen away from DC?
It's just another hitman who wears a mask and has the ability to regenerate and heal and stuff like that.
I don't know about... I mean, I know you're a big superhero movie guy.
Yeah. I study up well.
You're a superhero movie guy.
Yeah. All right, fine.
But are you a comic book guy?
No, I never really read comic books.
Okay.
A lot of what I learned about comic books is from reading people's reviews and reading, them explaining who these characters are in these films. But no, I never read the comic books.
I read comic books when I was a child, and then I grew up. I stopped reading them. Trying to alienate anybody who's listened to this podcast on their...
Well, that's fine. I'm going to be positive about this film. You gotta like a superhero movie that's R-rated. It's a breath of fresh air. We've had so few of them. This movie is funny. The action is good. Solid action scenes. It's a good origin tale that also manages to tell another story. There are two conflicts that get resolved in this film, where if it was just an origin story where at the end he finally becomes Deadpool, it'd be a little boring. We get to see him as Deadpool proper with all of his abilities, kicking butt, saving the girl. It's awesome.
Okay.
And your feelings?
I mean, my feelings are pretty clear. I kind of liked it when I left it, but it's sort of disposable to me, it seems. I mean, obviously I'm in the minority, and we've established over the last couple of years that I'm not in any way an authority on superhero movies. It's just not my thing. So everything that I say has to be taken with a grain of salt. But I had a lot of problems with the story. A lot of problems with the characters. A lot of problems with the story. The action was okay, but there was only really one decent action. It's like, I think the whole movie is like 2 action set pieces with flashbacks that you can argue whether or not they're action oriented. I'm not really sure that they are, but I think it's just basically that the opening sequence is decent. The opening title sequence is good, but then I noticed about halfway through the opening title sequence that the jokes for me just weren't kind of hitting, and I realized then, we're talking like 38 seconds into the movie, that I knew what it was going to be, and I kind of knew what it was going to be going in, but then I kind of like, yeah, this probably won't work for me. Yeah, that's probably right. There are parts that work, but I think the what I dislike about it outweighs the things I like about it.
Is it too aware of itself?
Oh, it's very aware of itself. It insists upon itself.
Too aware of itself
for
you?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that is apparently the key to the Deadpool character. You have to like that he's able to constantly break that fourth wall and live in the moment, but also live outside of the moment and comment on everything that's going on.
Yeah, I think that works twice, maybe 3 times. 7, 8 times, just stops working. So I think there's too much of that. It's like being on a date with a beautiful woman, but all she really cares about is herself, and all she talks about is herself, and she insists upon herself. So.
Oh, see, I liked it, and I like that the superhero doesn't have to be some glorious dude who is very heroic and has proper morals. You know, this is just a guy who's doing what he wants to do. I like it. I feel that Ryan Reynolds was born to play this part. This is the type of character he plays in a lot of movies, and you feel like they're constantly having to pull him back, tone back the performance, so he's not as self-aware. In this, they just let him have free reign, and I think it works to great effect.
Well, one of my favorite movies that I've seen recently, this year anyway, but I think it came out a couple of years ago, was The Voices, which he starred in, and I thought he was great in it. And I didn't mind recommending it. I haven't got a real problem with Ryan Reynolds as an actor. I just don't know how all of a sudden he became Robert Downey Jr., you know? Like, now he's the bee's knees when pretty much the entire world of intellectual movie criticism had scorned and ridiculed him. And even all the nerdverse had scorned and ridiculed his performances in different movies and his characters in different movies. And this was sort of like his last gasp effort to become the superhero action star. I guess he pulls it off. So, I mean, you can't argue with success.
Well, I mean, I agree with you that he's made a lot of bad films, and this probably was his last gasp. But you look at him, apparently he's one of the fittest guys in Hollywood consistently for better than 10 years. So it's no surprise they keep trying to make him an action movie star because we have so few marketable people to do that. He's funny, which is also hard. A lot of the big muscle-bound guys just aren't funny, can't handle those bits of comedy.
Right. Well, he's not muscle-bound. He's sort of lithe. I mean, he's...
Yeah, but I mean, he looks believable, I guess, in doing all these action sequences. And he's always been a hit with the ladies. So I think studios keep going, we can make this work. This guy has all of the raw ingredients. We just need the right movie, the right director to harness these powers. And even horrible movies like Green Lantern, he's not the reason why that movie fails. There's so many other things that you have to call on first and talk about where you can't really blame him.
All of it. Did you ever see R.I.P.D.?
Yeah.
Would that movie have been any good if Men in Black hadn't existed?
It could have been, and apparently, and I don't remember all the details, but it departs radically from the comic books and the essence of what made that an interesting comic book series. Because too many studio heads got involved and said, we need this to be a ripoff of Men in Black.
Oh, okay.
You know, last year Men in Black 3 made all this money. You need to add in these type of elements.
Oh, all right.
So I think that's always been the problem. And with Deadpool, we're getting what makes Deadpool great in the comic books from all the reviews I've been reading. They have the guts to make this an R-rated film. A couple weeks ago, this was tracking to make $50 million opening weekend. It ended up making $150 million for the President's Day weekend. So that's a 4-day total, but that's still amazing. It's the highest opening weekend that Fox has ever had in its history. It's the highest opening weekend ever for an R-rated film, for a February opening, for a winter opening, even just in general.
Yeah, I heard January, February.
It's the 5th highest opening for a Marvel property ever. So, I mean, this is really doing well. They've already greenlit the sequel. In fact, they did that before they even had the box office receipts from this weekend. They knew it was going to be a hit. And just this week, they have greenlit a new Wolverine movie, and that's going to be R-rated.
It may or may not be R-rated. I just heard it, that they're floating that out there. And there are 2 different types of R ratings. One is deep violence, intense action, and a lot of blood on the screen. Mm-hmm. And then there's another one that's irreverent and, sort of crude and rude, like the Superbad kind of movies, or even worse, and deals with sexual humor and sexual things and sort of deviancy. Deadpool has that built into his character, that sort of wink deviancy or indecency or whatever. I'm not sure Wolverine does. And then where do you go?
But I would say that first bit, the violence, the bloody violence, Deadpool has that in spades in this film.
Yeah, but
and I think Wolverine can have that. I mean, it's a guy with claws who literally disembowels his victims.
I guess my point is, I don't know if it will be the best marketing decision just to have someone that's, a slasher murderer. If it doesn't have the combination of sexuality and self-referential sort of parody that this movie seems to be treading, the waters that it seems to be treading in, I don't know if Wolverine can pull it off to the same extent. And I'm not sure if the producers are willing to take that risk.
I think when they see opening box office like this, you're thinking maybe this is the new direction superhero movies need to go, because people are already starting to complain that they're getting a little stale. That was one of the criticisms of Avengers 2.
Right.
It's just more of the same. So
I've been saying that for a long time, though.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the last Wolverine movie, The Wolverine.
No.
That's probably the most violent PG-13 movie I can point to.
I maybe have seen it.
They did everything they could to, just toe that line and not step over into R-rated territory. So I don't think they'd have to push a whole lot more.
Yeah, but you're cutting off. What do I know? I mean, I think it'll be a gamble, and if they cut off that amount of if they cut off their audience, and it fails, then they'll see that that's why. I don't know if what is it, Fox that has Wolverine? Mm-hmm. They're going to make a decision that's going to give them the most money, either here or down the line. And I'm not sure. I mean, comic books are still comic books. Mm-hmm. You could say, like, all the nerdverse can get upset with me, but they appeal to younger kids. And I think if you're out of the middle school age group too far, then you're sort of limiting your audience.
Over 53% of the audience for this film was over the age of 25.
This film.
For opening weekend.
This film.
Yeah.
And
it made $150 million here in the United States. Internationally, $132 million. So that's almost $300 million opening weekend.
Just because a lot of people went to see it doesn't mean that it's any good. And this is a different movie.
It is good. We can go back. But if you're a studio executive, you cannot look at those numbers and say, well, we're not even going to try and make another R-rated film. Yeah. So to me, if I'm going, all right, I'm not going to take Avengers. That makes $1 billion every time we go out there. Just like you wouldn't make an R-rated Star Wars film. You're guaranteed $1 billion, right? Let's take one of the smaller properties, one that has underperformed. So to me, Wolverine seems good to do that. I want to say the last one made about $300 million. Or possibly, and they're talking about doing Fantastic Four.
Jesus Christ.
But again, it's an underperforming franchise.
Fantastic 8.
No one, has been able to make a solid PG-13 movie with that.
All right, where do you go
property,
with it, though?
You have that property. Why not go for the R rating?
Where do you go with Fantastic Four to make it a legitimate R movie? You make it more violent, or you make it like you have sex scenes?
Both.
All right, but if it's not
sex
funny,
scenes with the Elastic Man, Mr. Fantastic.
Do you honestly think that they would go that far? They didn't even take Deadpool that far. I think that there are a lot of things that they hedged on with Deadpool. They're waiting to see how accepted it's going to be.
They were very smart in doing their research. Back in January of 2012, they filmed a 3-minute clip of Deadpool to just see, does this work? And they were kind of undecided. They accidentally leaked the footage back in August of 2014. And the internet exploded. People said this is great. Then the script leaked and people went, oh, this is fantastic. Back in April of last year, Ryan Reynolds tweets out, hey guys, Deadpool's going to be PG-13. The internet explodes with rage. It's got to be R. It only works that way. Fox was very smart in being able to gauge how much people wanted an R-rated movie, how much people wanted this movie. And it's paid off.
I think you should give credit to some producers, but I think you're giving the company too much credit. I think some producers are willing to take a risk.
You think they got lucky with this?
Yeah. Of course they did. Nobody would have predicted a $150 million opening for a marginal film with a $68 million budget.
They're doing great. I mean, this whole movie cost less than $60 million.
Yeah, I think it was $68 million was what you said last week. But I might be wrong. I don't know. Okay. Either way, it kind of... I mean, I don't know how much farther you can go into this arena with a different property. I don't know if you can be aware of yourself like that and break the fourth wall and take all the conventions of superhero movies with a different character and claim the same area. I don't know if you can carve out the same area.
I don't know, but this is costing less than $70 million. We can agree on that. Even with marketing, you're under probably $100 million for this film. It's going to clear $500 million.
I don't know. It might even do that. Some people are now predicting that it will be the highest grossing movie in its second week, or it will have dropped by a lower percentage than all other movies.
It could.
Like Star Wars only dropped 49% from its opening weekend gross. They say this movie might even do better.
Okay. So
it will be like one of the first times ever.
All right. So it cost you $100 million. It's paid off at least fivefold, possibly much more than that. Why not try and do this a couple more times with, a budget of 50 to 70 million? Maybe you strike out once or twice, but so what? If you can hit fire again, right now the Batman vs. Superman film apparently has a budget of something like 400 million. It's got to do $1 billion to break even.
Right.
$1 billion.
And it probably won't, and it might kill that franchise or that iteration.
Yeah, they've put the Justice League on hold. There's supposed to be a standalone Batman movie with Ben Affleck. All of that is paused until they see how this movie does.
But making Batman vs. Superman R-rated wouldn't have solved that problem for them.
No, but my point is, instead of having a $400 million budget, drop down to $50 million, get some new director, the director of this, Tim Miller, this is his first feature film, take a gamble for 1/8 of the cost. You can make a lot of movies, and you only need 1 or 2 to hit.
You've made this argument before. I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is a perfect storm and the perfect property. I don't know if another property exists like that out there.
Plus, the other thing that they're smart doing with this film is we haven't only been introduced to Deadpool, which apparently he fights sometimes on X-Force, which is like a more hardcore Avengers team.
Right.
But we got a good look at Colossus, who's apparently a pretty popular X-Men that they've never known what to do with, and then this Negasonic teenage warhead, Sinead O'Connor looking like teenage child. She's kind of cool. So you're getting to test some of these more secondary characters and see, are any of these a hit with the audience? Do we want to work them into future films? I think that's really smart.
All right,
bring in some B and C level characters and see what works.
It may be smart. It might also be a death knell, because if you're having a tentpole movie that's based on Negasonic teenage warhead, then I think that you're saturating the market, and I think again it'll be stale and redundant. This is essentially Spider-Man or Wolverine. It's the exact same origin story. It's told a little bit differently. The structure of the story is a little bit different, but it's pretty much Wolverine. There's an action set piece at the end. He fights it's what superhero movies are. And for me, I mean, they're just not that attractive. I don't know where it heads. The budget for Deadpool 2 or Dead Pond or whatever is going to be probably 2, maybe even 3 times this $60 million or whatever, $70 million.
It could get really bloated if they. I don't think they need a whole lot more money though. Do $100 million.
No, but it might. Again, they might throw a whole bunch of money at it. And saw what happened to Zoolander 2 or Two-Lander.
Good point. No,
So,
I
don't
could
know.
see them
I don't-
screwing up Deadpool 2, but that's 2 years away at the earliest. I want to be happy for this film.
Well, you'd probably deserve it because I'm not alone in. I mean, I am alone. You're not alone in your appreciation for it. I will say that most of the people I've heard talk positively about it have been sophomores in high school.
Collegiate? No. Oh.
So,
No, I'm just... I'm happy when we can get these types of films. I miss R-rated action films. I grew up watching a lot of action films from the 80s and 90s. The Schwarzeneggers, the Stallones, I mean, even Van Damme's and,
this
those
isn't like
guys.
those movies, though. This is different.
I know, but now I look around and I go, there's so few R-rated action movies that come out. Almost everything is PG-13, and I feel like it's been neutered.
I think if Die Hard came out now, it would be PG-13.
And that is so sad because that needs to be an R-rated film.
But they're just calling it R-rated. It's just having a tag on it. I think if you released the print, Die Hard, maybe took out one or two curse. I don't even know how many. It probably got R for violence.
Violence and cursing, definitely.
There are a couple of movies that got R-rated just because they were
thing.
so much beyond PG-13. But now the line between them has been... I don't think...
I still think a lot of those, you throw them back out there, they would still get an R-rate. Point Break, they just remade that, PG-13. And from all the critic reviews, it sucked.
Come on, that's not a good...
You gotta have it be R-rated. You got to.
That movie didn't fail because of the rating. The movie failed because it wasn't a good movie.
Because they were having to go through and neuter it.
What's the highest rated action movie from the 80s and 90s? R-rated.
Highest rated?
Yeah, I mean, what's the pinnacle? I'd say Die Hard is up there.
Terminator Judgment Day.
Terminator Judgment Day or Terminator 2? Is that
Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
All right.
Yeah.
I think if that were released today, without anything preceding it, if they just took it on its print today, it would be PG-13. So when you say R-rated as a tag or as a moniker or a description of these movies, I think it means different things to different people. And I don't think that it's just a savior for the genre. It might even kill the genre. Then I'll be happy.
When I think of great action movies, and there have been a couple in the last 5 years, both of the Raid films and John Wick are rated. I can't think of a fantastic PG-13 action film. I mean, you're going to have to throw...
Jurassic Park. You love that movie.
That's popcorn.
Jurassic
entertainment.
World.
Yeah. But I mean, when I'm thinking action, I'm thinking more fighting. Jurassic World is more adventure.
Kingsman was rated R.
Enjoyed that one a lot, and that wouldn't be a good film if you had to make that PG-13.
What if Deadpool was PG-13? PG-13. Would you even go see it?
It'd be horrible.
It'd be Ant-Man.
Yeah, it'd be horrible. I mean, I honestly, I think Ant-Man's probably the weakest of the Marvel films in the last 4 years or so. And I realize there are people who like Ant-Man. That movie just did not work for me.
So if you took out a couple of eviscerations and some sex jokes out of Deadpool, it immediately becomes less of a movie?
Yeah. I mean, because that is a crude character. If he can't be crude, you're neutering him. Do you think Howard Stern would be good if you neutered him and didn't let him use curse words and be vulgar at times? Would he still be an interesting radio personality who could be on the air for 30 years?
Well, that's why he was the host of America's Got Talent. I mean, he's the king of all media. What are you trying to say? Howard Stern would still exist because he's talented. I don't know if this movie would. I don't know.
I think R-rated movies have a place in our society.
All right.
I wouldn't recommend this to most high schoolers. I would have reservations about them going to see it if I were their parents. Probably want 11th grade and up. I would not be like some of the parents that I saw going to this theater bringing their 10-year-olds in.
Right, it's bizarre.
But that's just me.
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Probably not. Wow. But that doesn't mean... I mean, that's because it's a reflection of me. I wouldn't want this movie to be a reflection of my tastes.
No, I mean, so, I appreciate the honest opinion. You seem to be much more into this film leaving the theater than you are now.
I was dazzled by it.
part of it was also we went to a really nice theater. We went to the AMC Hampton, and they've just redone Theater 12.
Was this DHX or something? Some
Something-
sound.
Crazy sound, the recliner seats,
Nice screen.
huge screen.
We paid a little extra for that too.
But was that not a fantastic presentation? I mean, what you think of the movie aside, the presentation, I would argue, is the best I've ever had. If you told me you could see a movie you really want to see, or this other one that you don't really want to see that much, but it's in Theater 12, I'm going to Theater 12.
Well, if it's Brooklyn, it won't make any difference, right?
That was one of the things I was thinking about. If you're a critic and you're going into a really nice theater and you get really great sound, how much does it help some of these award-winning films? You know, if you go watch The Danish Girl or something.
Right. It doesn't matter in The Danish Girl if the chair shakes when the music plays.
Yeah, does the subwoofer
Is there
really help?
any bass in The Danish Girl at all?
I don't know, but those are always films. Like we saw Trumbo, and that's in a very nice theater at the AMC. It held maybe 50 seats.
Right.
And it was a very nice presentation, but it didn't blow me away. I was blown away by Theater 12.
Well, theaters
for
have
Deadpool.
to do that now to compete, right? Or else everyone's just going to stay home.
I mean, we have a lot of nice theaters around us, I feel, and we've been in all the different rooms
So
seeing these films.
That's your
Deadpool
favorite
was
theater.
amazing.
Theater 12 at the AMC Hampton.
Yeah, I've told all my students, go watch it
All right.
there.
I wonder, we went in the matinee.
Mhm.
I wonder what and it was like $10.26, which is just so the ticketing prices are just so odd there. It's, any
Yeah.
theater nowadays. I don't understand that. But anyway, was that a matinee price? Do you think it's more than, you think it's like $15 or $18 per
Oh,
ticket
yeah. I
to
mean,
go
there,
there?
there's
Just
some
because of that theater?
spots. There's some spots in America where it's better than $20.
No, I'm
for
talking
a
about
ticket.
that theater. That you think we got a matinee price or?
Yeah, we definitely got the
don't
matinee
look into
price.
it. All right, I think we need to spoil this some so that I can explain why I hate
All
it
right,
so
all right.
much. I don't know if I hate it. I really don't hate it, but I really don't like it either.
The man that hath no music in himself, nor is not moved with concord of sweet sounds, is fit for treasons, stratagems, and spoils.
Okay, well then let me start you off with this. Apparently 48 hours before the movie started shooting, Fox Studios told the production team, you got to cut $7 million from the budget. So they ended up cutting a car chase sequence, and the last action sequence was supposed to be a whole lot longer. Deadpool was going to be using all these guns. Instead, they turn into a joke where he accidentally leaves the guns and ammo in the taxi.
Is this the spoiler section?
Yeah, we're in spoilers, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Do you think that helped the movie, that they had to scale it back some and really figure out what are the most important bits that we need to keep?
It definitely didn't hurt the movie from my standpoint, because all of that extra fluff added to an action movie doesn't necessarily make it better.
Mhm.
Unless you're finding a way to do something unique and interesting within the confines of the scene. Like just adding another scene to it is not going to be it's not going to de facto be a better movie.
But you were a little upset that there were only 2 major action scenes in this earlier.
No, I wasn't
You were
upset
calling that
about
out
it.
as a flaw, at least.
No, I was just pointing it out. I was just saying it's just 2 major action set pieces with some origin stuff in between. If this movie had been told chronologically, you would have had the same sort of setup. It would have been it's just sort of taken out of order.
Mhm.
And I don't care if there's another scene. It wouldn't have made me any happier to see an extra Mr. Two Frames. I slept through half of the movie.
I don't know how you did that, especially with all that sound.
Well, it's proven that I can sleep through movies.
Apparently.
So I may have missed some stuff, and it's probably not even a fair thing for me to be judging it along these lines, but there were things that put me to sleep. It wasn't just me. It wasn't all my fault.
Hmm?
So, yeah, no, I don't think it would have been better with more of a budget. Probably it made it, again, more original. Or it made it at least original for however far it could be original. The CG on Colossus is pretty ridiculous. I mean, you could have done a guy that didn't look like metal.
But
But
that's
was
what
metal.
his character looks
I
like.
know, but I think I've seen Colossus in other movies, X-Men movies, where he doesn't look like that, and he does, like, he either transforms into metal or something. And the CG isn't as bad. I mean, this was a lesser version of that guy. May have been because of budgetary concerns, but it also, I think it was part of the joke. I mean, he's eating cereal, for Christ's sake.
Superheroes got to eat.
Yeah.
I
Metal
kind of
guy.
like him in that. I mean, he's so ridiculously oversized. And then there's just the inherent problem of how do you ever make a metal guy look realistic, and how do you make the metal move organically when metal's supposed to be so rigid?
Right.
How do you convince the audience that this guy could really move around, that his joints can
that's
flex
the thing with this
without
movie.
making him look like the Tin Man and have these oversized joints everywhere?
The thing with this movie is, well, we don't have to, because it's all a joke. See, we're just setting up this movie where we can do these things, but it doesn't really matter because it's a joke. And then we can leave off certain things and, it's just a joke. It's funny. Look at how cute we are. Coy. And that just got bothersome after a while. There were 2 key plot points that were never resolved. And I was just like...
What were those 2 key plot points?
I don't know if they were key, but there's a minor character, the cab driver.
Mm-hmm.
He gets, arrested, or he gets into an accident, right? And there's some guy in his trunk. We never go back to him. We never find out what happened with that guy. There's no resolution there. Colossus rescues, at the very end of the movie, is this whatever stupid thing that they were standing on, this giant aircraft carrier that for some reason is lifted up another 25 stories in the air.
Weren't they in a dry dock?
But it was dilapidated. There was no... I couldn't figure that out necessarily. And no, it wasn't a dry dock, because a dry dock would have been covered, right? I don't know. But when that thing collapses and falls down and nobody really seems to notice, Colossus saves teenage Negasonic teenage warhead and...
Said teenage twice.
Well, that's how I feel it should be said. And Copycat. Not Copycat, Angel Dust, played by Gina Carano.
I love her.
What happens with her?
He takes her with him. He's got his handcuffs.
No, he doesn't. She never comes back.
She's locked up.
Huh?
He's going to take her back.
What?
She's at the beginning of their action sequence. He's got his handcuffs. He's like, we can do this hard.
But where is she at the end when he rescues them? Because
he locked her up. He probably tied her around some beam or something.
Okay.
He's going to pick her up when he leaves.
Right. See, it's a funny little thing. We don't need to explain that. It doesn't matter. But she was one of my favorite characters. I wanted to know what happened to her. I don't want it to be left out in the open. I want there to be resolution. I want there to be at least the idea that there could be a resolution. I hate movies where you're required to fill in the blanks with plausibilities, or what is the most plausible outcome here. I don't mind ambiguity at all, but I think that here they just think, whatever, it doesn't matter. We don't have to tell you what happened to her. Angel Dust. Whatever.
Yeah, that didn't bother me too much.
I know it.
The Colossus design didn't bother me too much. I do think one of the character designs we can agree on, they didn't go far enough with, was Deadpool's face.
Right.
He wasn't that ugly.
No, he's...
I mean, I think there are some guys who are going to go, I've seen uglier guys at the comic book store I frequent.
He's John Malkovich. You save the guy's... That's the other thing. I couldn't figure out what his motivations were, because they cured him of cancer. And they gave him...
No.
They gave
him
cancer?
Yeah, he still has cancer, apparently.
Oh,
he has a healing factor. He's able to heal from the cancer as quickly as it's able to keep giving him cancer. He still has cancer.
But it's not going to kill him.
He's not going to kill him. Yeah, he's not going to die.
Okay. So, yay. We did what we said we were going to do. If you go to a doctor and you're like, I got to do right by someone. This whole movie could have been solved.
Wait. If you're on fire and you're being threatened to be engulfed in fire. No, I'm just saying, if you were on fire and you go to the doctor and you're like, hey doc, I'm on fire. I don't want to be completely engulfed in fire. And he goes, all right, I'll just keep you with just a little bit of you on fire. I'm not going to put it all out. Would you go, oh, thanks doc. That's awesome. If you're still a little bit on fire, but it's not going to spread to your whole body.
Again, I don't know how your analogy works, because is it going to hurt?
Instead of cancer, now you have fire.
But does it hurt? Is it going to kill me, or is it going to hurt?
It's just going to hurt.
But he doesn't
he's
hurt.
Still fire.
He's not in pain necessarily.
Really? That skin looked really dry and crackly.
He looked like John Malkovich.
That's why he carries the lotion all the time with him.
Plus, how come he can't heal scars? Like, he can heal holes. He gets his hand chopped off. He can't heal a scar? That doesn't make any sense. It defeats itself.
Yeah, the healer properties make...
They're limited to things that aren't skin?
I saw a question online the other day, and it said, if you cut Deadpool vertically in half, right down the middle, which side would grow a new Deadpool? Or would you have two Deadpools?
Right.
And apparently someone answered the question, there's an evil Deadpool who the villains just made from gathering up all the chopped off body parts and putting them together, and it made an evil Deadpool.
Isn't he an evil Deadpool?
How's he evil? He saves the girl?
I don't know.
I mean, he doesn't
but he saves the girl for himself.
But she was going to be killed. Yeah, he doesn't save the world. You should like this movie because you hate superhero movies where it's all about saving the world.
You're absolutely right. I should like it.
If Deadpool doesn't do anything, the girl dies. That's it.
Yeah, but it's very selfish.
There are no grand motivations that are going to end the world.
This is the thing, though. All right, so they cure him of cancer. They save his life. They make him a little ugly. And then he just sort of disappears and is angry at the guy for doing it, for saving his life and making him look like John Malkovich. If he had gone
and wanting to imprison him as a slave.
Yeah, I missed that part. I was asleep.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to because he was too badass?
He gets free after they've transformed him. He sets fire to the whole place, yeah.
So they weren't able to do what they set out
that's
to
what
do.
They wanted to do.
They just don't seem to have a very good business plan. They're going to create super warriors, and they think that they're going to be enslaved?
Yeah, then they're going to enslave them so that they have to do the bidding.
What are they going to hold them back with?
Exploding neck collars? I don't know.
Okay. And then his head would just grow back without the collar on it. If he had gone to copycat Morena Baccarin, I think her name is Vanessa.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey man, they saved me from the cancer. I'm hideously ugly, but look at me." And at the end of the movie, she goes with him because she loves him that much. Mm-hmm. If that had happened, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, or no, 2 years, right? It's a 2-year time period. If that had happened 2 years prior to this, none of the rest of the movie would have happened, and he would have had a happy life for 2 years instead of being an angry, bitter Deadpool bent on revenge.
I think he still wants to kill Ajax, the main villain of this.
For saving his life?
And for horribly scarring him.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
that's the trade-off. If you knew you were going to die from cancer and they said, well, we're going to change you into, you'll look like, I can't say,
I'll look worse than I do already.
Yeah. Would you take the cure?
Oh yeah, I want to live.
There's a trade-off, see.
Okay.
All right.
There are a couple other superhero movies coming out this year. Do you think that this will be your favorite superhero movie come the end of the year? We're about a month away from Batman vs. Superman coming out.
I'm predicting that's going to be a 4, so Deadpool still wins.
Deadpool's a
4.1.
No. Oh, it's 5? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a 5.
All right, fair
because
enough.
of Morena Baccarin.
I like her.
And Gina Carano. I liked her a lot, too.
Like her, too.
So, I don't know. What's the other movie? Avengers, Civil War, Age of Ultron?
Captain America, Civil War is the other big one.
Whatever.
I mean, 2. You couldn't even be bothered to watch Avengers 2.
I'm pre-predicting a 2 for that.
So this is going to be your favorite superheroes movie of the year.
At a 5.
And
probably.
You were very, very tepid, if I'm being kind.
Right.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe I should be happy. Maybe it will kill them.
Well, maybe we need to get back to doing better quality films. Any idea what you want to do for the next show?
Aren't we doing the next 2 Oscar nominations?
Yeah, I think our next 2 shows we're going to be reviewing the best pictures for this year's Oscars. Episode 125 is going to be Brooklyn.
One of your favorite films of the year.
I enjoyed it, and I don't think we talked at all about that on the show this year.
Maybe once.
So
passing. And then 126 will be The Big Short, right?
Yeah, which was Scott Lasky's favorite film of last year.
Got an inside track on the Oscars.
So we will be bringing you those episodes very shortly.
LaF is going to the Oscars again.
Are you going to the movies this weekend? Let LaF know what you saw. Send in your review by emailing the show at thelaughpodcast@gmail.com, tweeting at The Laugh Podcast, or messaging us on facebook.com/The Laugh Podcast. The best comments will get read on a future show.
As John McClane says in Die Hard, yippee-ki-yay, MF'er. For Mr. Bull over there.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm Mr. Lusk. Clubs it. Boom. Everybody.
There be dragons.
All right, as John Callahan said in Die Hard, "Cowabunga!" MFer. Is that not
Callahan is Dirty Harry.
Oh, what's the guy's name in
John McClane.
Oh, it's John McClane. What
and
is
it's
it?
Yippee-ki-yay.
Okay, there you go. I should look these things up. Yippee-ki-yay! All right, so as what's his name? John McClane.
John McClane. Couldn't imagine seeing that with my dad.
Oh my god!
My dad would have walked out of that movie.
I think my old man would.
He does not care for profanity in films.
I would have walked out if I hadn't been so tired. No, not because I would have
Such a
walked
good
out.
film.
Wow, that's all right. I think you're overstating. We'll wait till we get into it.
I'm overstaying what?
You said it's such a good film.
It is.
It's like, but you said it in like.
It's a breath of fresh air.